a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary. 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita.
Welcome to another Thursday night edition of Beyond the Ropes.
Woo!
I'm Randizzo, aka Randy. My hetero life mate to the left, Retro Relapse, aka Fernando.
What it do, and welcome to another Thursday night with BTR, and we are live, which we don't do often anymore. But check it out, we're live, yeah.
We're live, but you know what you can do is do a super kick on that follow and subscribe button on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast needs, really. But today, since it is the WrestleMania season, and we both
are in season.
We love WrestleMania. We love the lead up actually to WrestleMania. It started right in Royal Rumble. Me and Retro Relapse decided to pull a random list of the top 15 WrestleMania matches of all time. Now, mind you, we haven't seen this list, and we're just gonna, if we remember it.
I know I'm scared because we usually don't do anything blindsided. So
yes. So this is not our list. This is from denofgeek.com. I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're reputable. Den of Geek. Den. We don't know if the person who made this list is an actual wrestling fan or a super fan like us, but we will find out. So this is the top 15 WrestleMania moments. And before I get into it, and this match might be in the card, or this question I might ask you is, do you, being alive for as long as you have been, since you're so old and maybe have been there for WrestleMania 1, does any WrestleMania match possibly, we don't have to discuss it, just any WrestleMania match or build up kind of pop in your head, bring fond memories? Anything?
No. Why? Because I consume so much wrestling that I cannot remember. So no. But truly, honestly, no. You know what? There's been a lot of good WrestleMania matches that have, been broadcasted through the years, and who am I not to say if one of the oldest, fondest memories is fucking Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
WrestleMania 3.
It's one of the best body slams you'll ever see until you go further down the line, and I believe it was a SummerSlam where you're on the Lexington with newly crowned to-be Hall of Famer Lex Luger replicates that body slam, doing that to Yokozuna. So,
what do you think was a more impressive feat? Hogan body slamming Andre, or Lex Luger body slamming Yokozuna?
Honestly, they're both neck and neck. I'd give a little more seasoning to Lex Luger and Yokozuna only for the fact that they did that on a battleship.
I think the stage was set. It was a nice setting. It was different. Mm-hmm. And Lex came on his Lex Express. Well, he didn't actually come in that bus this time. He actually flew in on a chopper and landed right on the boat. Mm-hmm. Came in, his fucking guns a-blazing with his cowboy boots on, and gave that fucking body slam to Yokozuna, which is pretty badass. So,
yep. But you're replicating the original, which was Hogan and Andre, and just listening to the story of that, where it wasn't Beyond the Ring. I think it was just an interview where Hogan was talking about it, and Andre put him over. He said, just catch me and I'll do the rest. And He did it. And when you saw that, it was just monumental because, wrestling back then compared to wrestling now, a lot has changed. The moves have changed, the move sets, the way they carried each other, but it was still the same song and dance. But the impact that just a body slam has in an arena full of people, of one man just being able to pick up a building and just, oh, brother, oh, I mean, that place went ballistic.
You know what he did? He fucking said his prayers and took his vitamins. Okay.
You damn right. You damn right. Every day, every time you see Hogan's, take your vitamins, say your prayers, brother.
Oh yeah.
Fight on, fight on. But just having that kind of moment and effect on the people, it just makes it so memorable. And I can't wait to see what's going to be on this list. So how about we dive into it?
Let's dive into it. So from again, www.denofgeek.com. It's the top 15 of that time. There you go. This is their list, and we're just going to overview it. And if we have some recollection of this match, we might have a little discussion. But we'll just go down the list. Starting at number 15.
God.
Bring that back. This is WrestleMania 8. Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper. Do you remember this match?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was a match. That was a match. Do I remember it shot for shot? No, but I do remember watching it.
This match, I think, obviously Roddy Piper being one of the best heels in the business at that time. Biggest heels, yeah. And then the biggest baby face there is, the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Is the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And I still want those damn sunglasses.
Dude, I always wished, I wish I was able to even ever go to a wrestling match, but let alone be in the front by the fucking walkway and get those glasses. I was so jealous of all these stupid ass kids who probably threw them away. Fucking assholes, but hey.
Yes. Because a lot of those kids did not keep those damn glasses, and it upsets me unless they were the smart ones that they actually put them away or didn't mess them up, but their parents were cool about it, and then they saw them later on eBay, which I'm still mad about because they go like $400.
It's hard for us to think that it's real, right? It could be just a merch stand, sunglasses that they had there, so you just never know.
How do you know?
You don't. But I vaguely remember this match, and I only remember it not because I watched it live. It's from watching it on the network back in the day.
When the network was around, man, that was like the best hub to have with everything that's on there. I know they're trying to do it right now through Netflix and Peacock, but they don't have everything, dude.
They don't. They got rid of a lot of things for certain things for obvious reasons, but nonetheless, great match. But that's number 15.
Dare we say his name? Chris Benoit. Or dare we say the massacre of Owen Hart?
Oh, jeez, yeah, that's another one.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yes, yeah, definitely, man. Those are, you would want to watch that, but to relive it, I know it's unsettling for some people. There's people that enjoy the dark and ugliness out there and decide to do it anyway. But yeah, those are yeah.
Yes. Cringe, yeah. So. Cringe. Number 14 on this list is
Wait. You had me at a cliffhanger. Who won?
It says that Mr. Bret Hart won because Roddy Piper passed the torch to the future of the promotion. So
that makes sense.
Good match. Those two wrestlers, if you watch wrestling or ever even dabbled in wrestling, you know who Bret Hart is, and you pretty much know who Roddy Piper is. Come on, a lot of things, a lot of movies and stuff. One of my favorite movies, They Live.
Did he win via sharpshooter?
He won via just a clean schoolboy roll-up.
Whack.
Back in the day, they didn't emphasize sometimes.
I'm disappointed.
Nonetheless,
number 14.
Number 14, WrestleMania 31. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar with Seth Rollins cash in.
Oh, very nice.
I'm pretty sure you have memories of this. I definitely have memories of this. I mean,
yeah, man.
Brock Lesnar, the part-time wrestler versus the guy, the big dog, whatever they were calling him back in the day. They were shoving him down. They were trying to shove him down your throat, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I'm tired of Roman Reigns." And then the savior of this era, Seth Rollins, comes and cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase and stomps both guys.
That's right.
And wins his first heavyweight championship in the main roster. This was a great match for a lot of reasons. The build up between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns was actually pretty good. But to throw the wild card in Seth Rollins after what he did when he left the Shield and joined the Authority and all that nonsense that kind of played out, you got one of the best cash-ins in WrestleMania 1. And you got a memorable moment because that is his first heavyweight championship in the main roster or on the main roster. Great memories. I think I actually saw this with you at your in-laws' house for Jonathan's birthday.
You damn right. And what a time it was to be on the back porch outside in the backyard just enjoying good old wrestling on a Sunday night. And son of a bitch, that was a hell of a pay-per-view.
That was a great
moment. That moment with Seth Rollins just cashing in, you weren't expecting it, especially with that long ass ramp. Him running all the way down with the case, jumping in there, throwing it in. I want to be a part of it. I want to do it. I'm gonna do it. He does it, and I know it's part of the anticipation. How long it takes for them to get the briefcase? And are you sure?
Yeah, dude, I fucking hate that shit. I hate that. He brought it. He's cashing it in. Fuck.
Just let him do it. That was a good way to do the cash in. Of course, Edge starting that off first. Shout out Cope. Starting off doing that kind of cash in, but it's good to see when others are able to do it and actually do it successfully. So
exactly.
Number 13.
Number 13. This is an interesting one, and this is during an era where people want to forget about wrestling. This is during the COVID era. WrestleMania 36, the Firefly Funhouse match between John Cena and R.I.P. The Fiend Bray Wyatt.
Man, if I've got anything to say about that, that was a very, very wonderful illustrated. What do they call those matches? The
foreshadowing, theatrical. Very foreshadowing. What's going on now?
People are trying. Yeah, no. I mean, are you okay? So, are you going to give credit to Bray Wyatt? Or are you going to give credit to the writer?
The writer,
because Bray didn't do all of that, and the writers didn't have any clue what they were going to do 5 years later.
Actually, this match I watched a couple of interviews with John Cena, and he said that Bray Wyatt was very open to the idea. So John Cena had a lot of ideas since it was going to be a theatrical match, and they combined their ideas on all the crazy things. I think my favorite memorable moment of this match is John Cena coming on the NWO shirt. That was awesome. That was just unique to see, right? Especially at the time.
Before I got ran over with your rant,
it's not a rant.
What I was talking about was just the way that they were able to start doing these matches because of thank you, Matt Hardy, for doing it at the Hardy compound in TNA, and the illustriousness of knowing that you were stuck in this era where you couldn't be around a lot of people, so you had to shoot something movie-esque, really took to the forefront of what they were trying to accomplish. And those ones done by the Hardys were very new at the time and very untouchable. That WWE, of course, they're the biggest production company that you can see with what they do. They really pushed it forward with that, especially with what collaboration Cena and Bray Wyatt did together, and the writers, of course, because they have to, you give them the ideas and then they got to produce it and make that ball right,
Yeah.
So I do agree with you about the Cena NWO. Now go ahead.
I also having the SmackDown fist and John Cena in his ruthless aggression tights after he came from as a prototype from OVW. A very unique situation. Obviously, WWE was able to juju it up a little bit and make it, tie a nice bow on these theatrical matches. But again, an era where people want to or tend to forget about the COVID pandemic era of wrestling, and this is the WrestleMania that was supposed to happen in Tampa Bay. And a lot of other memorable moments happened. Obviously, Drew McIntyre won his first championship in front of nobody and got to watch it at home, which sucks, but this is one of the matches they had on there, and just again, very interesting. Bray Wyatt creating these
Did
puppets.
you not like one of the things that was done in that match also, where they were both in their workout gear? You had Bray Wyatt and his muscle thing. If you were watching the Funhouse clips that he would put out there
It's like
during some of the things,
that.
yeah, he was there in his workout gear, and he had the puppets as well. But even John Cena is there with him, and they're there just dancing and doing the silliness. The silliness is the entertaining part that captivates, and knowing that both entertainers want to work together and do something, it's magical. And I can see why it's on the list at number 13, because it did leave a stain in the COVID era that is stuck as a memory.
Exactly.
Now hit number 12.
Number 12. WrestleMania 39. This is a banger of a match. I actually like this match. Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. I like this match. It was exactly what you got. European wrestling, hard hitting, beat the shit out of each other, bruise each other. Someone has to come out victorious in this one. Do you have any memories of this one? It's only 2 years ago.
I do. It was a pee break.
Really? You didn't care?
That was a snooze fest to me. I did not care for it. You know, you have three heavy hitting brawlers that want to go after each other, but you don't have the whims of a story with this, knowing that all they want to do is slaughter each other, which is most of wrestling. I can't diverse and stay away from that. But when you have three hidden meters that want to meet in the ring and meet each other, it just I have no interest in it. I'm not a fan of Gunther. Drew McIntyre wasn't doing anything for me, and you already knew Sheamus was going to lose. So
terrible. I actually like this match. There was a story behind it. Clear you weren't watching, but
yeah, I was.
You weren't, because there was a story. There was a story behind this, leading up to this, where
I could hear it while I was peeing.
Where Sheamus and Drew McIntyre were the Banger Brothers or some shit along the lines of being like a tag team for a while, and
banger
they were
after banger after banger.
Yeah, and it was a hard hitting match, and obviously Gunther came out with that win, and now you see where he's at. Wow, they're really giving him a big push, and Drew McIntyre just started getting out of that gimmick after he left Dolph Ziggler, and he was becoming his own thing, and him and Sheamus kind of rekindled that tag team they created back in Ireland or Scotland or just in Europe in general. So good match. I can see why it's number 12. It's just a hard-hitting match. Not for all.
It's not. I was surprised it made it on the list.
Fair. Well, if we take it back for number 11, this is also, you brought up the memory of Hulk Hogan and Andre. This is from WrestleMania 3, but this is on the other side. This is Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Ricky the Dragon.
Do you remember this match? This is actually a good match, and this is a crazy build-up. Do you remember any of this?
I don't remember a lot of it. I did see clips on this one. I didn't actually get to see the full thing. Okay. But, I mean, you think about two legends in themselves. I mean, Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, they're going to go everywhere. And they're going to take their time methodically, especially Macho Man, because he plays a certain game when he's in the ring, and they drag it out a while. And especially back then, the way they ran their matches, they weren't always 20-minute matches like they do nowadays. I mean, you're running 45 to 60-minute Iron Man matches in themselves, knowing that you're trying to entertain the crowd. And I'm pretty sure they were going everywhere.
They were. So on this one, I would say people consider this one of the best matches. I love Randy Savage. Well, we share the same name, but no relation. I wish. But nonetheless, this match would actually had shut the fuck up. This match actually had a year build up. So this was built. Wow. This is almost like the Rock Cena kind of a whole ass year build up where they were feuding. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat has pretty much been babyface since the get-go. He's never been a heel. This is one of the guys who's never been a heel. And Randy Savage, this is when he was about to go into the Macho King. Big ass heel. They had a whole year of just feuding, and it culminated in WrestleMania 3, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat took that match. So, nice. This is the beginning of the top 10, and I think we can agree on this one. This one's actually a really great one. This is What WrestleMania is this? This is WrestleMania 26.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. Technically, Ric Flair's retirement match.
Oh man.
Should have been.
Man.
It would have been a good ending moment, but
the tear jerker of an ending. If you call this one the ending, this is the WWE ending.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes. There you go.
How about that? Catch me outside, Ric Flair. How about that? That match had its drama in it. It carried on quite a bit, knowing that Ric Flair was still doing what he was doing at the age he was doing it. But son of a bitch, that ending is just.
It's a chef's kiss. It's chef's kiss on that one.
Yes, you took the words. I was like, do I want to say chef's kiss? Do I want to say the emotions that go through your heart that make you want to cry, especially when women are like, you have no emotions, you don't cry for shit, and then you see the meme because why are you crying, and you see what's going on. Son of a bitch, that super kick that ended it all.
Super kick heard around the WrestleMania stadium. This is actually, you can see Ric Flair's daughter now in the wrestling business, Charlotte, there to support her dad. What we thought should have been his last match. Obviously, it's Ric Flair, and Ric Flair does whatever the fuck Ric Flair wants to do. So it wasn't his last match, but a great ending for his WWE wrestling career. And again, like you said, like a tearjerker, one of these matches that you had two different eras of wrestling. Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, two of the best to ever do it in a lot of people's opinions. A lot of people's opinions, and Shawn Michaels gets to give Ric Flair the fucking match of a great ending to his career, or should have been, I should say. But nonetheless, great match. There's a lot of, you said it all. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of things that went into this match, and true wrestling fans can appreciate this match because it's so damn good. And even though they're older, they put on a hell of a match. It went a little bit longer, but nonetheless, Ric Flair got a nice.
True wrestling fans and two wrestling friends that have just a great enamor with the sport. Not only that, but the passion that they give to the fans and they put out there. It's like you really just look at their careers and what they've done for the business and how they still continue to give, even though they should not be given anymore. But of course, Shawn Michaels is running NXT. Ric Flair is still being Ric Flair. And just saying that, if you don't know who Ric Flair is, go get an encyclopedia and kick yourself in the ass for not knowing who the fuck the 16-time world champion is. But I digress. Just seeing them, knowing that it's basically Flair passing the torch to Shawn Michaels, while Shawn Michaels still had some time on his hands to still do other things before he retired, was just, one of those accolades that couldn't have been given to anyone else.
For sure. Great match. We're going to go to WrestleMania 7 now. Number 9. Number 9 brought to you to denofgeek.com. This is the only time that this guy makes it on the list. It's a little interesting match, but it's the Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage. Hell yeah! Who didn't do that shit? Who didn't do that shit in the room, wherever the fuck you saw ropes? Anything, you just fucking did Ultimate Warrior shit.
If you had something that had some kind of elasticity that you just grab onto and just start shaking the shit out of it.
Do you remember their team? This is the match that culminated after their team broke up, the Ultimate Maniacs. And if you ever see these promos, you know for a fact, if you're just an adult, you know for a fact that they just fucking did a rail in the restroom, and they're like, what are we going to talk about? They go, fuck it, let's just wing it. And you have two drunk uncles at the barbecue, just, oh yeah, bro, like whatever Macho Man's saying, and then you have Ultimate Warrior, I'm from the parts unknown, blah 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 blah, and I can feel the Ultimate Maniacs in my blood. Whatever they were fucking saying, Like next level shit, dude.
Man.
This is next level shit.
But beneath the feet of the ground, all the way to the top of the mountains. I know where I'm going with this. Yep.
I don't think he did. I just think he was trying to. I think he was just
Don't forget
trying to
about the
make
snarl too, because he would always do it. Bullshit snarls.
He was just trying to make the next town.
Oh, yeah.
He was just trying to make the next town and get that next bump and keep on going. Hit the gym, eat some food, do some coke, hit the gym again, show up to the show 5 minutes before it starts, cut a promo, and then run
Miss
to the
Elizabeth,
ring.
you don't know Miss Elizabeth. Oh, yeah.
I don't remember this particular match. I mean, I remember seeing clips and snippets of it, but I remember the team.
Yeah.
I remember the team, and this is a culmination of.
I think this was on a countdown show. I remember seeing little bits and pieces of this also. I actually sit down and watch the match, but we're blessed with social media nowadays where people just love to share a whole bunch of random stuff, because I know I do on a daily basis, and seeing something like that pop up on the feed or pop up in a YouTube thing or whatever, it's just always nice to see, especially if someone does a countdown with all these, video montages of stuff. Man, just those two guys are just wild.
Yeah, legends. People will say. I will say.
Very, very much so. Very much so. Those are out of this world characters, man. You can never replicate.
You cannot replicate that one. So on to number 8.
Ocho.
The Ocho. WrestleMania 30. What people thought could never happen. Randy Orton versus Bautista versus Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan had to beat Triple H to even get into the match. The Yes movement, one of the biggest movements.
Movements.
You're kind of seeing it now. You're kind of seeing it now with a different type of movement, starting with a Y. But yeet, that's right. So tell me your memories about this match, because I know you know this match. I know this match too.
I do know this match, and just the effect of the underdog. Especially when you have the world behind you. You can say the world, because this is a globally traded company. This is a globally shown company that's seen in X amount of countries and everything. Man, he had everybody who is a babyface lover, an underdog lover, was just behind Daniel Bryan when everything was going on, especially when you're having to fight your way up and into something that you've already deserved, have been taken away from over and over again and been shunned out from and everything. Yes, dude, it was, the buildup was so suspenseful, especially having to fight, one of the bosses in the way. It's like an old video game, an old side-scrolling Super Nintendo video game from back in the day, Sega Genesis. Let's throw them all in there, right? Where you're having to go through Streets of Rage or Final Fight. You're having to go through, they stole your girlfriend, or they you got to beat the boss to get, whoever is being kidnapped, whatever the case. And Daniel Bryan had to go through all the hoops and all the hoopla to get through to where he needed to be, and finally gets to the final boss, which is Triple. Before he gets the final, he's a sub boss. Triple H is in your way, beat him, and you get into the match. Boy, did he beat him, but it wasn't easy. He gets that win, goes on, gets thrown into the triple threat match, and that was a doozy in itself too, because not only you have one, but you got two bosses you got to fight to obtain your goal, which was winning both championships. Am I correct?
Both championships.
Both heavyweight and WWE championship.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great match. I mean, the movement itself is still spoken today, and it's pretty awesome that WWE, even though Daniel Bryan is Bryan Danielson in AEW, his real name, they still show that clip, because that's just, again, it's when the fans are behind you. This is like next level shit. It wasn't about Daniel Bryan anymore. It was about the Yes movement and the people that were behind him. I remember that go home show where all the fans were in the fucking ring and they were chanting yes, yes, and and the Authority and everyone's just like, get the fuck out of here, blah blah blah, and everyone's.
I honestly think that wasn't scripted. The fans jumping into the ring and they just let it happen.
I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't. I feel like you're right. Like I think that was just it just happened. It just happened organically, and that was how big it was. And again, the underdog story of Daniel Bryan fighting his way just to get into the main event and then winning. What an amazing moment in WrestleMania history. One of the biggest moments I dare say in just wrestling, in wrestling in general. If you're a wrestling fan, whether you're a tribalist and you don't like WWE or whatever, you could get behind this because again, it was the man of the people. He was the man of the people, and the people made that happen. And of course, Daniel Bryan's of course hard work, but nonetheless, without the people, I don't even think he'd even be interjected into the match or even considered to be allowed in the match. So,
yep,
great match, great WrestleMania moment. This is our first number 7. This is our first women's match, and this is unique for a lot of reasons. But this is WrestleMania 37, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. 2 African American women headlining a WrestleMania. This is the third time, I think, or twice. This is the second time that women headlined this a WrestleMania, and this is one of them. And it was big for a lot of reasons. I mean, I don't know if you remember this one. Do you remember any of this one?
Hold on. Yeah. I'm not fully sure about what you're saying right
this
here.
This is night one. This is night one. This is the era of 2 nights.
I'm looking something up here because I don't believe that she is fully a woman of color.
Oh, she's not. She's Hispanic. She's also Hispanic. She's also Hispanic.
Like, if they were trying to bill it as 2 full women of full color, then I could digest that properly, but that hurts the tummy. I'm sorry. I'm gonna bring in the Kale Pecte because last I remember her hearing that she was Hispanic, even though she's related, I don't know if it's by marriage, to Snoop Dogg, and if you're gonna pepper in some other flavors and stuff like that, make it correct.
There are there's some pepper things in there for sure in her bloodline.
For sure. But Bianca and Sasha was a pretty big deal. That's why I made it on the list and high up the list too. They were fighting for which championship?
It says
it should have been for one of the women's championships because
I think it was the SmackDown championship.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, no, it was a big match. Who was the champ at the time?
Sasha Banks.
Sasha and Bianca went over, correct?
Yes.
Bianca's first championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a big thing for Bianca because she came up from NXT. She went through all the hoops and trials there. She was champion there for a while. She came up through. She got moved up to the big card. Now she's at with all the A+ players playing on that field, and she proved it time and time that she belonged there. She belonged on the roster, and by them making that smart switch to do it at WrestleMania really made it worthwhile because there was a lot of movement with the women's movement as far as their wrestling and all the champion changes and who they were trying to showcase at the time as well. And knowing that you're doing it on the stage of WrestleMania, I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that.
I kind of remember the build up. I thought it was a pretty good storyline building it up, but it all again just culminated on the Super Bowl of wrestling, WrestleMania, and they were able to show out. And Bianca got that win, got her first championship, and a good match, a good women's match. And they made it up pretty high. And there's a lot of bangers on this list, but that's pretty good. I think it's just a big defining moment for the women's revolution in wrestling itself.
That's what's up. Now we're at number 6.
Number 6.
Who you got?
This is WrestleMania 17. This, of course, had to be on the list. One of the biggest fucking matches ever, I think. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stone Cold and The Rock. This rivalry can still go on currently if they were both at a point to where they could both wrestle each other.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe there is a hint of that maybe coming around this WrestleMania. We don't know.
Never know. There's like 5-6 weeks left until WrestleMania. 5 maybe. So there's a lot of wrestling to be had, but this one right here, one of the greatest rivalries in wrestling of this era.
There's so much wrestling to be had. It's just the fact that Stone Cold and The Rock is synonymous for being the biggest face versus heel matches of our generation. Um, and it'll still continue to be one of the biggest matches, but it can also be thrown back to other heel versus face matches that are probably way earlier in, if they did have a list of all these things, like, Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, per se.
Yeah, yeah.
Something big to that effect.
Two megastars just not seeing eye to eye. They had a great rivalry during the Attitude Era. They're two of the biggest names that helped WWE, WWF get over WCW and beat them in the Monday Night Wars. This was a big thing and a great build up, and it was one of I think personally one of the best matches of my era, and I still hold it in high regards now. And obviously, it's made the list in the top 10, and a great match all around. I can't say a lot. You can't say enough of this because there's already been enough said about this match in particular. So,
but it's always fun to see.
It's always fun to see. Now, are you good right now?
Yep.
So, number 5, hands down, one of the most memorable matches that I loved, that really made me love wrestling. And this is at WrestleMania 10, the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Is this Intercontinental Ladder match?
This is the Intercontinental Ladder match.
Unification?
Unification match.
Ah, damn it.
One of the best WrestleMania moments that will live on forever, and RIP Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon. Like, again, Shawn Michaels is on this because he is Mr. WrestleMania. He's been on this list quite a bit, and I believe there's a couple of more that he's still on. But
yeah,
this is one of the best. Like, I would say this definitely wasn't the first ladder match, but definitely one of the first televised ladder matches, and it's against for the unification of the Intercontinental Championship, yellow belt, white belt, and it's two of the best to ever do it. Great match. This was this is, I think, for me, the defining moment of wrestling. Finding out that Shawn Michaels is from San Antonio, the homegrown homeboy, like childhood, boyhood dream, whatever you want to call it, and he loses to Razor, but a great match, first time I ever saw a ladder match, and it was badass. They even made a toy about it. Like, they have a fucking action figure of this because it's such a great moment in WrestleMania history. What do you think?
Why is it, do you think, that they put Razor over at this WrestleMania?
Shawn Michaels had just gotten out of... I think he was barely building himself up as a star, and he was a big heel at the time. He had just turned on Mario Jannetty, had Sensational Sherry with him, and was starting to get the Heartbreak Kid gimmick over. And of course, if you know wrestling, and you know Shawn Michaels is a dickhead, so that could have been another big thing, right? On top of that, so.
Well, wouldn't you think, as being a dickhead, he'd be the one taking the belts, or at least vying for, or putting himself in that thing where he's saying, "No, I want him."
Yes, but him and Scott Hall were friends, so I think that also had a lot to do with it. And Razor, bigger name, bigger draw, and this is the era of WrestleMania where most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the good guys won. Right? You got the feel good moment.
You can actually say that we were on the cusp of the older generation ending right before they had to revamp, since they were losing out on viewers when WCW started taking the reins and Monday Night Raw was going downhill, and they had to recreate it as Raw is War. Am I right?
Yes, and the War Zone, if you remember, where it went to rated PG-13, or it jumped ratings, or NA.
It started off as Raw is War, and then turned into the War Zone.
Yeah, so
that's when it got it real heavy. Mm-hmm. I know. I still got the Nintendo 64 video games. Yes. Damn right.
Do you remember this match?
I do remember this match. It was a very hard hitting match where these guys were taking it to their limits, and Shawn Michaels being the showstopper. There's one person still doing it to this day that mimics him to almost to a T, and that is Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler. And the reason why I bring up Ziggler Nemeth is because his biggest influence was Shawn Michaels and the overselling that Shawn Michaels does to get the effect of what's going on and to get the crowd either behind him or behind the other person he's facing, depending on where he's standing at that match. And that boy was overselling like crazy that night. A lot of moves that were just simple clotheslines, punches, kicks that Ramon was doing to him, or throw him against the ropes, and Sean would just fly out of the ring, or he would oversell a punch,
The Irish rip to the
oversell a
turnbuckle.
kick, oversell a clothesline, and definitely always whenever he gets thrown into Irish whipped into a turnbuckle, he gets thrown in there. He'll either hit it very high, he'll jump at it, or he'll hit it to where he flies out into outside of the ring, and it's just crazy to see because you're like, whoa, he really hurt himself, but no, he's just throwing his body to the wind. He's throwing caution to the wind and his body at the same time.
Yeah,
But it was a
great
very
match.
hard hitting match. The ladders involved, I mean, that just adds another element. Whenever you bring in some kind of heavy machinery, heavy artillery into a match like that, you can't help but watch to see the carnage that's going to happen with that, especially the way they were, or at least Sean was overselling a lot of the hits that Razor was doing. So, that was a banger of a match.
And I also think that people just forget that how big Razor Ramon was. Like he's a big man, and Shawn Michaels is a lot smaller than him. So Shawn Michaels sold the fuck out of every hit. Like he was getting his bell rung every time. So great match. Top. I can see why it's number 5. Great match, hands down. Number 4. We take it back to WrestleMania 17. And you have to have this on the fucking list.
TLC?
Fucking TLC, the Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Dudley Boys.
3-way tag team match for the tag team championships that are hanging at the top of the ring. Just like a ladder match. But it's tables, ladders, and chairs. If you have not seen clips on this, shame on you and your pathetic life. This is iconic in every sense of the word because you had 3 teams that threw their bodies to the limit on anything and everything imaginable you could think of for a match with those elements involved. Son of a bitch.
There are so many highlights that came out of this match alone. This match made these guys. They brought a light to the tag team division, and it made people realize, dude, these guys are willing to take it to the limit and put on a fucking banger of a show. Hands down, there's, like, again, if you haven't seen clips, you're living under a rock because this thing has been clipped and clipped and clipped and clipped and people have been trying to replicate this, and it just can't beat one of the best matches ever. And it happened at WrestleMania 17. There was already a stacked card, and they stood out. They pretty much stole the show, and it was like the second match of the night. So,
yep.
Again, if you know the Hardys, first ballot Hall of Famers. Edge and Christian, well, one's already a Hall of Famer, and the other one's on his way. Even though he's in AEW, he has to end up getting back on there. And then the Dudley Boys, also Hall of Famers, and they're Hall of Famers not only in WWE but also TNA. So they were the original belt collectors. They collected every single belt: ECW, WCW, WWF, WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and any other fucking biggest promotion they're out there. They had the belts. So damn good match. If you haven't watched it, take time, pull it up on YouTube, go on Peacock. This is one of the matches during WrestleMania season. This is one of the big matches that they will show over and over and over and over because it's that iconic.
And over and over and over and over. Yep.
And will continue to be showed over and over.
And over and over and over.
And over and over. So, trying to get the last word, huh, fucker?
And over.
So now we're at the top 3.
Ooh.
And this is number 3.
Number 3.
Now, this is a big match for a number of reasons, but and this is a match that does include someone you don't really care for, but it was iconic because it was icon versus icon. WrestleMania 18, The Rock
Hogan versus The Rock
versus Hollywood Hogan, and in this
Hollywood
match, Hogan is the heel, The Rock is the face, and by the end of the match, Hogan's the face and The Rock's the heel. That's how good that fucking match was. It was not about moves. It wasn't about anything other than listening to the crowd, and changing the match and making it work.
Yeah, because Hollywood Hogan ended up, bleeding yellow and red that night. That's why.
Well, Kevin and Scott came out because this was during the NWO WE era, and they came out and whooped his ass after the match, and that's how they made sure he made the full turn.
Mm-hmm. They emphasized knowing that there was an audible that happened because I don't think it was supposed to be.
It wasn't. It wasn't
Hogan going back to the colors. I don't think it was. Maybe there was something implied in the back at one point story wise. Well, maybe we should go face, but you're still Hollywood Hogan. You got to stay heel, and the fact that Rock can go face to heel pretty quick because he's still doing it now, and it sucks. But back then he was good at it. That the fact that he was a face and went heel, that's all it takes. Once you got one to go over, the other one's gonna get the crowd momentum pushed right behind him, and the fact that he was able to be pulled out of black and white and into the Technicolor, back to the yellow and red, that just and then have the rest of your black and white mates come and just stomp you out. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, but hey man, it's wrestling. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and that's the beauty of WrestleMania season and WrestleMania itself. Like you just never know what could
with
happen.
wrestling. It was WrestleMania. It's always a shock moment. You want something to talk about to say that this WrestleMania was better than last year. It was always topping or trying to be over the top or get over the top or even on top of the top that's going to happen over the top is going to be over, and it does every year.
You're so old. That was number 3. Now we're going to take it back. We're not taking it back. We're actually going a little forward. Number 2, WrestleMania 26. WrestleMania 26. Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker.
Was this the one where he was all in white?
This is the first match. Yes, the first match.
No, the second match is when he has God behind him, doesn't he?
Yes, but this is not that match. This is the first one. This is the first one.
So this is the first one, and of course we know Shawn Michaels loses this because Undertaker was still on the streak at the time.
What a fucking weird build-up, because this is a time where they weren't exactly full-time, but they weren't part-time either. They weren't wrestling as much, and it was a unique build-up because Shawn Michaels wanted to have another WrestleMania moment, and they call him Mr. WrestleMania for a reason. He's been on this list plenty of matches for a good reason. And now he gets to go with the Phenom, The Undertaker, who has at this point one of the longest WrestleMania streaks. And it was a fucking great match. 2 of my favorite wrestlers, you get to see them on the biggest stage, and they don't disappoint. It was a banger of a match, and it was so good that they had to run it back the next year.
They ran it back. They did. And they even build up another little story behind it that made it all happen, where he was basically forgiven and found himself, and that's where he came in all dressed in white with the light behind him.
Any fond memories of this match?
That one, not as much compared to the one where he was all in white. So regardless, fair. It's Taker and it's Shawn Michaels. They're going to give it their all because they were lack of a better term, marks for Vince McMahon, that they would do anything that he asked them to do, and knowing that they're both his boys that are being thrown out there, they already had it set that we're not breaking the streak, and Shawn Michaels really wanted to, but it wasn't in the cards for him to break the streak. But he still gave it his all, and he still tried to make his WrestleMania moment, which he did.
Now we come to the end of the list. Number 1, and I will ask you this before I say it. Do you have any idea what would be a number one WrestleMania match? Or maybe who's in it? Maybe who's in it? How about that?
If it's not Roman Reigns winning the championship, I believe it's Brock Lesnar breaking the Undertaker streak.
So, if you thought that, you were dead wrong. So, this is WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is the match, I think, that got Austin over. Mm-hmm. He bled, Crimson Mask, and Bret Hart made fucking Stone Cold. This is when it was Stone Cold versus the Canadians at this point.
Yeah.
And Bret Hart was still top dog in WWE or WWF. Mm-hmm. And they had and this buildup was everyone wanted to be Stone Cold. Everyone hated the foreigners. This is the time where everyone hated foreigners. Yeah. And Bret Hart, even though beloved by many for so long, he just went. This is where he finally had his heel turn, I would say, and it paid off, man. Like this is obviously number one on this list, but one of a great WrestleMania moment, WrestleMania 13. There's a lot of great matches on that card, but this one obviously made number one for obvious reasons. It's Stone Cold and Bret Hart. They had such an iconic rivalry also before it was Stone Cold and The Rock. So, any memories about this one?
The lead up to it, of course, started where Stone Cold had his changeover from the King of the Ring, where 316 says that Stone Cold just whipped your ass. You may have your John 316s, but Stone Cold 316 just said he whooped your ass, and was a good build up and lead up to having a good opponent before he started having to go through all the newer stories of going against McMahon and everyone else that, led into the heavier times. But I want to say the bleeding is what really pushed the envelope to really make that crossover and change over into where it was all the Raw's Warzone stuff. So it was good.
This is one of the culminations of the Attitude Era leading up to this. So great match. That was the top 15 WrestleMania moments by denofgeek.com. I can agree with a lot of these matches. Some, they weren't on my list, but anything on your end?
I mean, you can't beat it when you're talking WrestleMania. You're always going to have something that's going to stick out every year. And knowing that you can make a list out of matches that happened that were very memorable and just can be labeled as iconic. I mean, it's worth making a list out of it and talking about, because that's what we do here when we're on the shows. We put our two little pea brains together and we just talk about the things that we really like the most. And even though we don't agree on a lot of the things that are on here, I mean, it's always a good watch when you actually sit down and watch the match and see what kind of story they're trying to tell, or the culmination of a story that's been told or being told, and just seeing who comes out on top. It's always, whether it's who you want or who you don't, it's making you feel, and that emotion is what's really going to grab the best of you. And if they're telling stories that make you feel and making you very emotional, whether they win, lose, or draw, I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we're here to watch it.
And I think that's the beauty of wrestling in general, not necessarily WrestleMania itself, but wrestling in general. You're going to get everything from work rate to high flying to slobber knockers to hardcore, whatever your cup of tea is, wrestling will give it to you, and you'll fall in love with it, just like we have. Like, wrestling is it's a hobby of ours, but we love it so much that we created a podcast about talking about wrestling. Shit, like, there's so much wrestling, and you have 41 WrestleManias currently to fucking talk about. There are so many matches in the WrestleMania history, and people, everyone has their list of the top 10, top 5, top 3, top 1, whatever. And that's the beauty of wrestling, that you can discuss all these matches and all these storylines till you're blue in the face, because everyone has their opinions, and that's the fun part of discussing. Everyone has an opinion about wrestling, and it's just fun to watch, and it creates conversations and friendships and everything in between. So
you're damn right.
But any final thoughts?
I'm excited to see how this year's WrestleMania is going to cultivate because we're a few weeks away. We are on that road overseas. They will be doing some broadcasting. I know the next few dates, or at least for the rest of March, WWE will be broadcasting from Europe. So they're giving the Europeans a whole bunch of wrestling over there, which is good for them. It's uh, good for the brand. And then they're going to bring back to the stateside and Vegas. Here we come, April 19th, April 20th. We're going to get 2 solid days of matches that we can't wait to see. Then hopefully we can see what iconic moments will be happening this year for WrestleMania 42.
Easter weekend, someone might rise out of the dead. Who knows? But that's the beauty of wrestling. We appreciate you tuning in live once again for Beyond the Ropes. Catch us, like I said, hit that super kick on that follow and subscribe button. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify at Beyond the Ropes. I'm Randizzo. That's Retro Relapse. Hey, stay tuned for a lot more wrestling.